keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch the scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio, once again with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.TV. I'm joined here by my co-host in the studio tonight, DB Schwartz. How you doing tonight, bro?
Doing good, man. This is I'm interested to hear about the march, what we're gonna have going on for Saturday, and I know I've been looking online and I've seen that it's starting to get really huge internationally, and that's good news, because as more people kind of, do things regarding it, people here inevitably will see it, even though there is that kind of a blackout going on here.
Yeah, and of course the media is ignoring us and all that stuff, even though we're one of the largest civil disobedience actions in the United States. But it's just, I guess it's just one of those things where the media doesn't really want to talk about it, and they'd rather ignore it. Now, we do have these people like Dr. Oz, which is hugely influential in the middle-class female audience demographic, and he's been talking about GMOs, and I've been seeing it on Fox every now and then. But on the left side of the media with CNN, MSNBC, and all that stuff, they're completely ignoring it, even though it's typically the people that are trying to eat organic food are on the left, the progressive type people and parents,
right.
Which makes it kind of weird that they're the ones ignoring it. But it just goes to show how deep these political ties really go. And how deep and how far they will go to carry out this agenda that's making us all sick.
Right, and not only that, but then this whole organic movement and the labeling is going to be attempted to be co-opted by, guess who? Walmart, rearing its ugly head. Walmart wants to basically flush the organic market out with its own really loosely defined organic. I mean, they're going to more or less allow them to do anything except splice animal genes into this thing, and it'll be considered organic. They'll even splice, you know, the herbicide type stuff in with it, and it's still considered organic because why? Well, Walmart, it has massive lobbying power. They're going broke because no one's buying their food anymore. Even people with EBT are going to stop going to Walmart because they know it's GMOs. So they have to co-opt the organic movement. We got to stop them on that front. And yeah, they're just going to try to do it just like they're going to try to jump on the whole marijuana bandwagon when it becomes legal. And we got to stop them at their own game.
Yeah, and you know, of course, we're going to see these corporations come in, try to hijack the marijuana movement. They're going to try to hijack the organic movement. But let's face it, these movements are existentially decentralized.
They are.
They favor, when we talk about weed, everybody wants to buy the best quality stuff, which has to come from the local grower, you know, the cottage industry grower.
Right.
Everybody wants the local food, which isn't coming from Walmart, you know.
Right.
We're talking about supporting local farms, and the best way to support local farms is directly through a CSA or going to these local farms or going to your local farmer's market. And Walmart, if they want to be the middleman in between, guess what? Their prices are going to be higher than if you go directly to the farmer.
Right.
So inherently, these corporations are going to try to hijack it, but they're not going to be able to succeed, in my opinion.
And I mean, listen, there's three things right now that we're on the verge of, and then I consider what the elite doing is a trident attack, a three-pronged attack. They want to keep us subservient to a system that no longer functions, and we don't need it any longer. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to, you know, sabotage the solar and wind movement in some way with carbon taxes. They're going to also try to circumvent all these organic laws so that you're not going to be able to grow at home. And they already succeeded in Michigan. If you try to grow your own crops in Michigan and you're not a farm, well, that's illegal. And then the third thing they're going to try to do is they're going to try to take over all of the energy grid. And it's free right now. It's free. Hemp makes everything free because hemp feeds everyone. It makes clothing and it makes concrete. You can build a house out of what you grow, and then you can power it with a solar panel, and you see how now you're completely off the grid from day one, and they just can't have that.
You know, because decentralizing is the threat. You know, and that's what the whole new economy, the new economy, is 3D printing, Bitcoin, the food economy, organic economy, the localized economy. It's all about decentralization.
Yep.
Right? And these companies, these corporations, these governments, they're so used to being in power. They're so used to controlling everything. They're so used to controlling 90% of the food supply, 99% of the drug supply, that they're going to be blindsided and they're not going to know what to do.
Well, they do know what to do. They're trying to start a war. And they're systematically poisoning everybody and giving people sicknesses and sterility. They're attacking us on all fronts in a silent war, and soon they want to bring World War III about. And as long as we resist that, then every day we get closer to free energy and free food. I mean, once we break these bonds, not even this megalithical corporate monstrosity that the United States has become can exist any longer. People will simply unplug themselves because it's just more economical. We've said it all along. It's cheaper to make stuff at home. With a 3D printer and a solar panel roof and a bunch of other stuff that can be had for, I don't know, $100,000, you're off. You're off grid.
Well, soon we'll be able to 3D print solar paneling.
There you go.
Solar power. And that's when we're going to really make these breakthroughs, man.
Wow.
Then everyone's going to have access to this decentralized energy,
right?
Decentralized food, decentralized internet, and then you're going to end up with this free information worldwide.
Yes.
And what we're going to see is this total conscious revolution as all these geniuses that are suppressed around the world, these people in third world countries that are malnutritioned and starving, they're going to get access to this information, access to this education, and then we're going to just see a total change of everything.
Yep.
Because right now, the way things are run, the establishment, the political establishment, the surveillance establishment. Now, this whole story about how the FBI is starting to have to hire stoner hackers because they can't get enough hackers because
right.
they don't allow anyone that smokes weed. This is a perfect example.
And how many people really believe that these individuals are loyal? What are you going to implant them with a microchip to control them like a robot for their talents? We all know that won't work. You know, it's even been proven that when they try to do this Mockingbird type stuff where they hypnotize people, it doesn't work when you're high. So these dudes are their worst nightmare. They have to rely on them because China just outnumbers us. They have like 1 million hackers right now coming at us every single day. We just indicted 5 of them. they happen to be in the military, and now they're on Interpol's list. So if they go to any NATO country, they'll be arrested.
That's pretty funny.
Tried for espionage.
I wanted to talk about that on Monday. It's pretty funny because we're indicting these guys for hacking a few companies when the NSA is hacking everybody.
Right. Well, I guess the snafu is that they got into GE, and that's the biggest company in the world. And if you attack our prize jewel of our economic system, which is GE, I mean, they make everything for us, well, then that can't be tolerated. So they pick, I don't know if it's 5 names out of a hat or if they're the highest ranking guys in the People's Liberation Army. But then also today, I don't know if you saw, that there was another guy that now they arrested him in Hong Kong. He's a JP Morgan banker. So tit for tat, we're starting to see the elites are attacking each other in the open now. And these banker suicides are all part of a large east-west thing that's just about to pop off. That's what it looks like to me, but we got to stop that.
Exactly. Let's switch microphones real quick. Skype wasn't working for us when we first started. I think we got it up now. We're going to switch microphones real quick. Give us about 10 seconds here, guys. All right, we're back. I mean, if you look at the tactics they use against us, it's divide and conquer. Make them fight each other so that they don't fight us. And I was talking to my buddy the other day, because this is all part of this psychological warfare, this whole Republican, Democrat, black, white, conservative, liberal thing. It's all part of this psyop, this psychological warfare they're committing against us. Now, I talked to my buddy the other night, and I was like, look, is it immoral for us to use that same tactic back against them? Is it immoral for us to divide them against each other and make them fight themselves so that they can no longer focus on us?
Well, they want to anyway, because there's many good people in our government. Otherwise, if there weren't good people right now, we'd be in a real shitstorm, and we're only on the verge of one. And it's been happening slowly. So my thinking is this. Systematically, the good people are, being snuffed out, or however you want to say it. They're being retired. There's many Army and Armed Forces people that have been purged. And, if it behooves them to release the information of what's imminently about to happen, I'm sure they will whistleblow. Now, will the media cover it? No. Will the internet get shut down at some point? Yeah, I'm sure it will. So, we need pirate internet, and we got to set it up quick. And we have to have these alternative news sites like ours pop up by the thousands. People need to just keep emulating it and then incorporate, so we're protected from Feinstein's draconian media shield law. It's only $500 to incorporate it, and it will protect us.
Yeah, man, it's true. We got to use the system back against itself. We got to divide these idiots at the top back against themselves. Make them fight themselves. Make them fight for their power. Meanwhile, the whole time while we pull the wool over their eyes, instead of the other way around, we're out here building up these new systems, building new versions of self-government. We're building new decentralized food systems, decentralized currency systems, decentralized internet systems, and then getting people off the power grid while they're fighting themselves. I mean, this is perfect. I mean, we're looking at a perfect storm coming of consciousness. We're looking at the unlocking of all this potential of all these third world people, underserved people that are typically held down by the system and held down by the drug war or by the injustice system or whatever you want to call it. And I mean, we're looking at the perfect storm of consciousness, the perfect storm of progression that we're about to hit in the coming months and years, where these idiots are busy fighting over their power that's quickly evaporating under their feet. They just don't realize it yet. And some of them do realize it.
They do. And here's the thing going on now. The old guard and the new guard are probably literally fighting now, because the jig is up, basically. It really is. Like, at least the other governments of the world know what is going on now. So even if the people here don't, and even if the people worldwide don't en masse, enough people do, and enough people in power do worldwide, that they see what's happening, and somebody's going to eventually be like, man, something's going to have to give here. We can't continue to keep doing what we're doing. This old dominion has got to be crushed. Now, the New World Order can be a good thing if we, the people, dictate it. And we don't allow people to come in with deeds and liens and paperwork and certificates of land. None of that, all that shit should be moot. When this global reset happens, all the wealth in the world, no matter who you will be divvied back up equally. Or else, start a war and get the drones up in the air, and we'll go 6 billion versus 30,000 drones. How about that? The thing is, no one wants that, and we don't want it at all. But the thing is, if people are in a position of rulership and they're illegitimate, they need to be booted. And the people that are in the new school, the ones that want to actually lead humanity away from whatever freaking thumb we've been under forever, we want to follow them, right? And we know the division's inside now at the top, at the very, very, very top. Otherwise, we'd be in a shitstorm like we've always said. World War III didn't happen yet for a reason.
Yeah, and these people, of course, they're fallible. They're bureaucratic, unlike us. We're open source, and we're trying to unlock people, unleash people. We're not trying to control people. It's like that saying from the old Troy stuff and the old Achilles thing. It's like we don't need to control these people. We need to unleash them, Yep. And that's our idea. And now we look at the FBI, we look at the NSA, we look at the government. How do they control people? Through subversion, blackmail, fear. They get people into these compromised situations, pedophilic situations. They videotape it, and then they leave these people in power, and they just say, "Look, we know you're a pedophile.
Right.
We're going to leave you in the government as long as you continue to do what we say."
Exactly.
And then as soon as you slip, guess what, bro? It's all over the front page of the New York Times. You're a pedophile. So we're going to keep you in line like that. That's not the way we work.
Is it? Listen, this stuff's been going on forever. They've subjugated and subverted this stuff at the very, very, very top. And when you hear a remark like Prince Charles comparing Putin to Hitler, somebody's got major stuff on everybody at the top. And there's a puppet master supplied by the so-called security apparatus worldwide. I mean, where they can get these guys to make an inflammatory comment like that really could lead to a war. If somebody were to say Obama is if a Russian guy said Obama's like Hitler, do you think people here would take offense? Pretty sure they would. They'd say them's are fighting words. So when the Prince of the UK calls the Russian leader Hitler, when the guy, I don't know how many Russians died in World War II, but it was over 5 million. I mean, that's just an asinine statement, and it's inflammatory, and it's obviously controlled and contorted.
You want to compare someone to Hitler? I mean, the Western government establishment is the perfect example because we are perpetuating those ideas because we brought those scientists over in Operation Paperclip after the war. Make sure you guys Google Operation Paperclip. I'm surprised the amount of people that have never heard of it, but it's on the books, it's on the records. We brought Nazi scientists, all the brains of the operation that did all these horrible, horrible experiments against the Jews and against other minority groups in Nazi Germany. We brought these people over to America
right.
to join our government, to join our scientific establishment, and these are the people that are part of Monsanto. These are the people that are part of what's going on with all these vaccines, and whether you believe in them or not. These are the people that are behind a lot of this psychological warfare that's being waged upon the average, everyday American.
Right.
And these same tactics that were used in Nazi Germany to convince these German people to get into this frenzy where they were willing to kill the Jews and willing to go in this all-out war over this made-up nonsense. It's here.
Right.
It's here, and it came home to roost after World War II. It's the same thing that got us into Vietnam. It's the same thing that got us into Korea and into all these countries in the Middle East. We've tried to overthrow at least 50 different countries' democratically elected governments.
We went into Chad yesterday.
We went into Chad. Now we got drones in Nigeria for this Boko Haram thing.
Right.
Which, yes, Boko Haram, it's sad that all these women got kidnapped. 300, they've killed 600 people over there. Okay, but still, at the same time, even though that is very, very bad, and it's very sad, and I feel for those people, the U.S. government has no business going into Nigeria, because we kill 600 people all the time.
Right. Well,
we've killed thousands and thousands of people in these unjust wars, innocent people. Okay, and we don't have the moral high ground to go into Nigeria and take out Boko Haram because the fact is that we're financing these same type of groups all around the world, and there's even people that were saying that we're financing the Boko Haram. But no, the thing is that there's just so much going on, such a huge foreign policy, so much money being wasted, and all of us being robbed blind as Americans. Now, unlike countries in Europe where these people have these social democracies where they actually get free services and stuff like that, we don't have that here. We have this huge, giant foreign policy. The middle class has been sucked dry. The poor people are basically slaves. And the rich people are just riding all the way to the bank at the top of the stock market.
Right.
And it's become completely regressive. The whole system, the justice system, the foreign policy, the taxation system, the regulatory system, everything about our society is regressive. It hurts the poor more than the rich. And people are finally realizing it, and people are ready to strike back. And that's what this whole march against Monsanto, I think, really is.
So and you made a million good points, Nick. And the thing is, like, you gotta have a plan, man. You have to have a plan of where you're at socioeconomically now. Now, what do we do for middle class? What do we do if we're making enough money to save a little bit, even in these tough economic times? Well, best thing you can do is just become as self-sufficient as possible. But then, secondarily, we need to establish ways for the poor to feed themselves, because you know what's going to be our societal downfall? It's going to be food riots from the poor. When they cut all the food stamps and the banks close the next day, the middle class have food in their kitchen, right? And they can buy some more. They probably got cash. The poor will have a food riot within 3 days. It's been planned out and preconceived already. And you're talking about 90 million people, okay, in this country are on food stamps. And when they get cut off, they will more or less starve. So, what's going to happen? We all know what's going to happen. And are the wealthy going to make it so that the poor can feed themselves? No. So this is the new movement. We got to get to the point where the food is free for the poor. We got to have food forests for sure. Food forests would go a long way to quelling anything crazy going on. And then have these community plot gardens. When plots are empty, just throw a bunch of seeds in there and garden it. Who the hell cares? What are they going to do? Come tear up a garden? Get your food out of it. Get your free food out of an empty lot. I mean, I'm surprised with the amount of extra homes we have. People aren't just squatting right now in homes. I mean, we really shouldn't have any homeless, and that's the travesty of the brainwashing of this country, you know? If it gets to the point where, you know, if things get horrible for me, there's an empty house, it's empty. You know what I mean? It makes sense. We need to all adopt that whole Utah thing, where if a bank's sitting on a house and it's not on market because they don't want to drive the rest of their inventory price down, that needs to be opened up to the homeless. Seriously, just make it some kind of law. There's so many laws we need to get passed through that'll change a lot of these dynamics. We don't need to worry about the wealthy; they're good.
Yeah. Now this kind of brings us. On Friday, we're gonna have a special March Against Monsanto show. Hopefully, you can come back, and we're gonna have LaVon here. LaVon will be here in a little while as well, and she'll chime in on some of this discussion. We're not having phones tonight, guys. We do have phones open, but we can't take phone calls just because we can't hear them. But it kind of brings us back to this whole issue with hunger and world hunger. And the most common comment I see when we post this anti-Monsanto content on Facebook and on these social networks is that these people are like, Monsanto has done more to solve world hunger than any of you hippies out there.
Right.
So shut the hell up. Well,
obvious troll.
Yeah, and it's funny because I did some research and I looked into this saying, and I looked into where it came from, and it turns out that this saying came out of a $50 million ad campaign launched in the year 2000 by Monsanto and a few other biotech companies on the heels of a Time magazine cover hit piece, which basically said GMO foods are going to save the world. Okay, and so after Monsanto got this cover of Time magazine, they decided to launch a $50 million ad campaign, and guess what? It worked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people bought into it.
Yeah.
And after that is when GMO became the mainstream, and that anyone that disagreed with it became fringe.
Right.
And everyone that disagreed with it became conspiracy theories.
And mind you, the only country in the world that has that stance. You can't find any other country in the world where they think GMOs are better than an organic substitute. You can't get a government besides ours to admit that. Not even the UK is that stupid to make their own citizens call them out. Now, why does it work so well here? Man, the mass media propaganda and marketing arm is just, it's at this point cult-like. When you have somebody that's watching an average of 6 hours of television a day, when they're in that low level, beta level of their brain, and they're just susceptible to everything they see, including the false news, well, they're completely programmed. And there's just no way around it.
Yeah. So most of these people that are commenting on this pro-GMO stuff have basically just watched a lot too much TV. And they've bought into this $50 million ad program. They bought into this media, this mainstream media stuff. Now, fortunately, thanks to the internet and all this stuff, I was able to dig in and dig deep and look at where this stuff came from and whether it was true. Has Monsanto lowered global hunger rates? And I looked into it, and unfortunately, no, they haven't, because hunger rates spiked big time in 2008. And now this is, 2008. We're 15 years into the GMO thing, and why is hunger spiking in 2008?
Right.
Now there's an ebb and flow.
There's 1 billion more people, or probably 1.5 billion more people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So now here's the thing. By all research that I've been able to conduct, GMOs have not helped one single bit when it comes to feeding the world, helping the world. In fact, they've hurt it more than anything. Look at India. You got hundreds of thousands of farmers committing suicide because their crops failed. If you look at golden rice, which is another Monsanto creation, which was supposed to save 1 million lives in Southeast Asia and cure 350 people of blindness. Unfortunately, it flat out failed. And apparently, even if people were able to get this crop to grow, which is really hard because it's extremely expensive to grow, you would have to eat 27 bowls of this rice a day to get your vitamin A up to the right level.
Wow.
Which would decrease your chances of being blind, decrease your chance of dying from vitamin A deficiency, malnutrition. So basically, no. Everything that they've said, everything about Monsanto feeding the world, everything about GMOs fixing the hunger problem around the world is a complete fabricated marketing lie.
Yep, but
and it's as simple as that.
But they've succeeded wonderfully at doing their intended purpose, which is, one, to make food a patentable item, which in all, logical notions it should never be. 2, it made it so that they could just sue the hell out of organic farmers and destroy the organic movement. And you can be sure Monsanto's got an organic division. I looked that up. It's actually growing at the same rate that the organic foods are growing, and they're going to eventually co-opt the entire organic movement. And 3rd, what else did it do? Well, it depleted the shit out of the soil, killed the bees, and made it so that in the future, every single thing from the beginning of the food cycle to the end, including the transportation, will be controlled by them. They can shut the food grid off at any time, including, robotic bees. So yeah, it worked beautifully for them. In fact, Monsanto stock is a very good buy right now. It's low right now because of the PR. And eventually, unless somebody decides we need an actual revolution of some sort, they will control every single ounce of it. And will they make it illegal to grow your own food? Probably. I mean, at the point where it's going to be you grow indoors kind of on the low, or you buy this Monsanto crap. That's what it'll be.
That's what it's getting to, And now, I got this little excerpt here, and this is from a report from MIT, right? The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is one of the most renowned colleges in the country. And they did an in-depth report called Feeding the World in 2014. And I just want to read you guys this conclusion from this report and what they said, because it's pretty damning when it comes to the GMO stuff and when it comes to our movement, because MIT confirms what we've been saying. And I just want to read this to you guys real quick before we move on to the next story here. We're going to go farther into depth on Friday with this whole MAM stuff. We're going to talk about some solutions, some ways to outgrow the system and all this stuff. But just real quick, we may touch on this next week, but I want to read this from you guys real quick. This is from MIT on GMOs. Other technologies available have fewer scientific unknowns, less possibility of forming cycles of farmer debt, and have led to equally significant reductions in hunger. Integrated pest management, organic farming, and other improved farming practices may increase yields just as effectively as would introducing transgenic organisms. As such, we will not promote their widespread use until more research has been done on the long-term health effects. GMO seeds are available outside of corporate agriculture control. The biological effects of gene insertion are better understood, and research confirms that the presence of GMOs will not harm the native species in an ecosystem. This is straight from the smartest guys in the country, guy. Listen to this. This is from MIT. These are some of the smartest researchers in the world. This is a heavily cited report, and they're basically saying, look, we don't know enough about GMOs. Organic farming and new tactics are just as effective, if not better.
Yep.
And we don't have to worry about all the ecological effects, the damage to the ecosystem, and the health effects.
And here's the thing. If you make a GMO organism, it's going to fail most of the time unless it's been purposely built for something maybe destructive. Like you could maybe make a super lion-dog hybrid war animal or some bullshit like that. But if you're trying to improve on food, you don't need it, and you can't make it better because the environment is not geared for that piece of crap that you just put out into the world, and it's not going to do well. There's a weed now called amaranth. Amaranth's one of the most nutritious weeds. It tastes awful, but you can make it into sustenance. It's growing, and it's this new super weed, and it's replacing this GMO corn crap, and these farmers are cutting it down, and they're realizing, hey, this is a superfood, and we're going to be able to market it like kale. And guess what? GMO corn is now being used as the bait for the amaranth to come and take it over, and they're going to start cutting it up like kale and serving it out. So what does nature do? Nature circumvents economics. It circumvents anything, even human will, because it's been here forever, and we've been here in a blink of an eye.
Nature always overcomes. GMOs basically is just a quick temporary adjustment, right? It temporarily puts them ahead of the curve. Sooner or later, just like these rootworms that have become resistant to Monsanto's BT corn, just like the weeds that you're talking about, the one you were just talking about, and other ones that are resistant to Roundup now and glyphosate.
Feed on it.
They live off this stuff. So no matter how much we manipulate nature at this unnatural genetic level, and we don't leave it up to the natural selection, all we're going to do is create the need for these more extreme GMOs until the point where we're not going to be able to recognize these foods anymore.
Plus, it's mutating humanity on a DNA level.
Yes, and not to mention all the health issues that it's causing. But in 10 years from now, if we have to continue making these GMOs to outpace all these super weeds and super bugs that are evolving for these crops, then guess what? The word frankenfood is going to become completely real.
And franken-people.
And you're going to see it in the people. You're going to see it in the food. This stuff is not even going to be recognizable.
We do see it in the food. Look at Americans.
I think we already see a reflection in the public. Look at all the diseases we have. Why is disease running rampant? It's because we're not eating real food.
Exactly.
I just found out the city that we're in, where I live right now, where we're at, where our studio's at, is the highest. We have the highest diabetes rate in the county, and we're in a county of 3 million people.
Highly populated Mexican population.
Yes, and
GMO corn, rice, and beans.
We eat a lot of corn tortillas. We eat a lot of sweetened drinks. And I had a guy arguing with me on Facebook today about saying, oh, well, diabetes has nothing to do with GMOs. Really? Because high fructose corn syrup is about 95% GMO corn, and the other 47% of sugar that we consume is GMO sugar beets.
Right.
So yeah, it has everything to do with GMOs. The amount of diabetes here, and the amount of unnatural just obesity that we see in this area is just insane, and they're killing off all the poor people, and it's just like it lines up perfectly with this Operation Paperclip.
But they're not killing them off. Here's the thing: they're creating somebody that's now going to linger on forever sick in the system,
requiring mass amounts of medication. And people are literally suffering from chronic malnutrition and chronic dehydration. We're not drinking enough water. because we're so tuned to drinking these overly sweet beverages. Like, water doesn't even taste good. And when people drink water from their tap, it's so full of chemicals.
Fluoride.
And not even heavy metals.
Yeah.
On the palate and on a subconscious level, the person recognizes, like, this is not appealing.
Right.
And
People don't like water anymore.
Here's the other thing. You know, the thing about heavy metals, the thing about Roundup and glyphosate is that when this stuff, when the glyphosate gets into your bloodstream and then these heavy metals get into your bloodstream, guess what? It accumulates in your kidney, and that's why Sri Lanka
Kidney
just
stones.
banned. That's why Sri Lanka just banned glyphosate, banned Roundup, because what's happening is that the glyphosate's getting into the water supply. Combine that with the heavy metals, and it just ruins your kidney. It
Not
just
only that,
ruins
the
your kidney.
pineal gland. You know, that's how you connect to your. That's where you go in your dreams. Like, you need that to function. If you don't know what that does, do some research. That's where all the heavy metals are accumulating.
Yep.
And that's where you connect to the spirit. Whatever you call it, whatever your word is, that is super crucial to your humanity.
Well, yeah, it's your extrasensory, it's your third eye, so without that being able to function properly, well, you're susceptible. I mean, look at everybody on these pharmaceuticals, drinking fluoridated water, eating GMOs. They're zombies. I drive past people sometimes and look over because they're going like 60, and they're staring straight ahead, clutching the wheel like... I sometimes joke that they're NPCs and I'm in a giant matrix. These are not real people.
I totally identify with you.
and I know people like that I talk to them and they're not there anymore. Now, it could be a variety of different things, but if you're not trying to eat clean, drink clean, live clean anymore, and you're just absorbing all these toxins and kind of going, I don't need supplements, I don't need to exercise, I don't need to eat well. I mean, this stuff accumulates. I see 25-year-olds now that look like 45-year-olds.
That's the thing, is that people don't know that the vegetables they're purchasing are void of nutritional value. They have no idea that, you know, the food that the products that they trust are laced with GMOs and fake sucrose.
Yep.
They don't know. They don't know the effects on the body because we're not able to purchase things that are labeled properly.
We're going to do a nationwide GMO ban just like Peru did. Peru now is about to revolt against the TPP. People down there are not okay with any kind of GMO invading their food supply, and that is going to become a big thing for them. They are proud. I've been there twice. I'll be going back soon. They're not going to allow their heirloom seed organic food supply to be fucked with. They won't allow it. Pardon my French, but they won't, because that's what they take pride in, man. People go there for the food.
And I'd like to bring up a good point, buddy. How did you feel when you were eating that food? I've talked to you on both accounts.
Yeah. I mean, my stomach issues that I've been dealing with now forever, they went away.
Right, and when you come home, you're always like, oh, it hurts.
Yep.
Like, it's
everything
bad.
I eat, like I have to eat so specific here and take so many supplements just to like function because of the candida. I mean, the candida bacteria just is in everything because everything has fructose corn syrup.
And the candida in your belly, like, they're supposed to exist, but there's naturally there's a balance. But the manner in which we eat and what is considered normal in our society, the candida end up thriving and overtaking. And then as a result, they create a cycle of lust for these specific foods.
Right.
And then you're constantly caught in this sick wave.
And then we got this aspartame stuff, this artificial sweetener.
Gosh,
so this artificial sweetener stuff, our body doesn't recognize it as food. We don't digest it as food. And when we eat this stuff, it's been shown that when you eat this diet sweetener, you just crave more and more and more and more of this sweet stuff. And people used to turn to these diet drinks to try to avoid diabetes, but the recent research has shown that no, these drinks actually help cause diabetes. And before we go on, I just want to bring up one thing about these kidney stones, right? And we talked about how these heavy metals and then the glyphosate adds to the kidney stone. Now we have a study out of the University of Tasmania. You guys can check this out on the Anti-Media. It's by Derek Brose, one of our great writers. And it shows that fluoride, it's just fluoride in the water and in the toothpaste, also leads to kidney stones. So we're talking about a toxic chemical cocktail that is just destroying our kidneys, from whether we're talking about heavy metals and glyphosate, and now we talk about fluoride, which is another heavy metal. We're talking about just our kidneys are being destroyed in this country and all around the world.
Your kidneys are your filter. You know, that's your first line of defense.
Yep.
Very important.
I can speak from experience that I'm not filtering my water enough, and this show makes me realize that if you need to plunk down $300 or $400 to get something that flushes
San
the
Diego,
fluoride and radiation out,
a local company called Palomar Water is a natural resource that we get from Palomar Mountain, and it's naturally fluoride free. So I would check them out. They give great rates to people who live in the city. They are on the anti-fluoride campaign.
But if you're like in a place like Detroit where they're not going to have like anything like that, they'll just have some nasty ass city water. You're going to just have to plunk for a really good home system and also get something that has zeolite in it, because all of our water now is radiated from Fukushima, and actually Fukushima went on fire yesterday. It actually set on fire and is still on fire, and they can't put it out, and it's releasing plumes of radiation. It's coming over here, so I've been chlorella and spirulina and the hell out of myself today. Because this stuff is hot particles in the air right now. I don't care if you don't know it or not, but it's up there.
You also want to get some natural sovereign silver. It'll actually bind to the fluoride within your body and help remove it. It's a natural antibiotic and immune system booster.
And it kills the bacteria.
It's like a super elixir of goodness. Sovereign silver.
But only use it like once every couple of days. You can't do it. If you do it daily, it starts building up too much, right?
Check out the guidelines online. You'll hear different things from different people. My nutritionist says that I can take it every day, but it's a specific dose. It's one little dropper full.
Yeah.
But I give it to my dogs. I give it to my children. It's all natural.
It's an ancient remedy for all the bad things.
That and black elderberry syrup. Super good stuff.
We got LaVon in the studio tonight.
Yeah, in case you're wondering.
she hosts our Friday night show, and she joined us. We're all going to be back here Friday night. We're going to have a special program on Monsanto and the things that are going on with the March Against Monsanto, food freedom, food sovereignty, because that's what it's all about. We talked about how down here in these poor neighborhoods, all these people are sick, all these people have diabetes, high rates of cancer from all this bad food. But right now, it's really tough because these people really don't have many options. It's kind of hard because, when we're in a food desert, like we're here in Chula Vista, here in South San Diego, when I want to eat food, I don't have much of a choice. They're finally putting a Chipotle in down the street, which at least it'll be non-GMO. But other than that,
but even they're still using that rubber compound in their flour tortilla, the same crap Subway uses. So you're eating rubber mats with Chipotle too. It's not GMO, but what the hell is that thing?
Not food.
It's not food. So
Subway no longer has it in there. I don't know if you saw their latest commercial.
How did they phase it out so quick?
But thanks to these food activists and people like Food Babe and these people that are able to exercise flex this kind of activist muscle. We're able to, without the government getting involved, we're able to get these companies to turn around and say, okay, maybe that was a bad idea having that yoga mat stuff in there.
But
now, by all means, Subway is still pretty much.
But what did they? Okay, that's a good point. And then secondly, what if Food Babe goes in 3 months from now, checks, and it still has this shit in there? Will anything happen to them? Nope. But all these guys got duped into it because the media will run it. So see, there's no motivation right now. There's no people uprising. In Peru, when they tried to bring GMOs in, people stormed the streets.
Well, we got to think of what our people are distracted by.
Yeah.
They're working, they're trying to survive, and then they're plugged into their machines.
Yep. I mean, and then one day their grocery store will be empty. So you got to be able to grow your food. And then even if it's never empty, you're going to eventually get mutant bananas and all kinds of crap in there. You're not going to want to eat it.
Yeah, because if we continue on this path where we got these GMO foods, like I was saying earlier, with all these super bugs, all these super weeds, and all these pests that are starting to become resistant to this stuff, we're going to have to just keep mutating these GMO crops more and more and more to the point where it's only going to be 50% tomato, and then it's going to be 50% frog or whatever it is, or pig or whatever, or 25% pig, 25% frog, and 50% tomato.
What about the human cell rice? I mean, that was used to do these cancer research, supposedly, and then that got into other rice. There's a chance at some point you're eating human cells in rice. Just saying.
Yeah, you're getting human genetics inside of this rice, and it's just it's a slippery slope. GMOs are a slippery slope. Now, are we going to rely on genetic modification for our food, or are we going to rely on natural process for our food? And, this kind of goes in with this article that I wrote yesterday on the Anti-Media called, Despite Contrary contrary to popular belief, Monsanto is not feeding the world or reducing world hunger.
Right.
And basically, the point that I make at the very end of this article is that it's not that we need to put a bunch of GMOs and chemicals and be able to grow 1,000 pounds of corn on 10 square feet. The fact is that there's just too many poor people around the world that just can't afford to eat food.
Right.
Because half the food that we produce, we throw away.
Well, the food...
And we have 1 in 6 people in America. 1 in 6 in America go hungry every day, and we got half of the food that we produce going to waste.
Right.
Now that alone more than makes up for this 1 in 6 people. If we're throwing away half the food, that would mean that 3 in 6 people should be able to eat every day. Okay, but 1 in 6 go hungry, and we're throwing this food away right in front of their faces, throwing it right in the dumpster.
Well, listen, the fact that anyone goes hungry here, the breadbasket of the world, is just it's proof that no economic system will work except our mythical cooperatism. Eventually, because now there's just too many people. You can't, with any moral obligation, start just making people disappear or being genocidal just to get rid of a bunch of people. Just what you have to do is just give them farms, man. Everybody's gonna have to. We're gonna have to do that land reallocation and have everybody go back to this old agrarian lifestyle. We're still gonna have an awesome life. Trust me. Fucking sweet ass genetically modified horses and like solar panel homes, dude. It's gonna be sweet, and nobody needs all this bullshit we have right now. We're gonna be good. We're going to all be citizen farmers and have free education. We'll make our own healthcare in our own garden. Screw these corporations, and that's the future. There's going to be an elite that's going to be flying around fighting wars everywhere, and we'll just be like, screw you guys, we're going to live out on our farm.
Make love, not war.
It's all about knowledge and space. Knowledge and space. And now even the dumbest people in the world can still grow a garden. Growing a garden doesn't take that much intellectual capability.
It's innate.
All it takes is a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of time and a little bit of space, right? And a little bit of water. Now, that's what we need to be working on when it comes to feeding the world. Feeding the world has nothing to do with GMOs. Monsanto is not helping feed the world. Hunger rates are rising; they're not falling. The amount of people in this country is rising; it's not falling. And all these GMO, we could have 100 million, we could have 1 billion acres of GMO corn, and there's still going to be people going hungry in the streets because our economic system is failing. Our wealth gap is failing. The access to capital, the access to property has failed. Now, only a few people have access to capital. Only a few people have access to property. And, I mean, there's very few people that I know that are my age that are able to have a good amount of access to capital and property. And most of the people that I know, besides a few, have to rent a place, and they're under the subject of their landlord, just like the place we're at right now at my office. We have a landlord, and we have grass, and we can't break up the grass because the landlord will get mad. So I have to grow a garden over on the side of the yard where there's no grass. So what we really need to address, I think, when it comes down the underlying issue, when it comes to world hunger and people being hungry and people being poor, is how do we make an economic system that gives everybody access? Everybody gets access.
Well, Bitcoin's a start, because eventually if we can grow and make stuff, like say me and you were super good at making like baseball bats out of our 3D printer, and we started selling baseball bats, we made like 100 a year selling baseball bats. Well, shit. I want to get paid in Bitcoin. Fuck your Federal Reserve note. And then I'll pay this other guy that does something else and cut them out, man. We don't need them anymore.
You guys want to know something funny? I've been talking about this for months now, like getting paid in rocks. I'm going to get paid in rocks. I'm going to reach out to my community and I'm going to say, hey guys, bring me rocks and I will give you in trade non-GMO seeds. And I'm going to turn those rocks into works of art via painting. I'm going to paint them. And then people want to buy them already. Like, I've been making rocks, and people are like, these are beautiful. Okay, nice. I'll buy them. And I'm like, really? So, rock equals food in Levon land. Real talk. You can turn anything into something valuable.
You got to hijack the
A Federal Reserve note is just a piece of freaking paper.
Well, it's worthless because it starts wars. Eventually, someday, these things will be used as toilet paper because people will remember that they started shit everywhere.
Why not clean up shit with them, right?
that's that comes down to the point, man. This monetary system is completely centralized, monopolized by the Fed, by central bankers all across the world, and decentralizing it puts them in a bind, because then they start scrambling. They try to regulate it to death or tax it to death. And these guys that have invented Bitcoin, these guys are along the same mind state as we are, where they're like, "F the system.
Yep.
We want to make Bitcoin so that it can't be co-opted, so that it's impossible to be centralized, so that it's impossible to tax and regulate."
We need world credit. We need to have a way so that if you went to like an ATM, this coin would come out with denominations out of a precious metal, like even platinum, dude. Imagine. We could revolutionize everything, attaching it to hard metal at ATMs and having world credit everywhere. Everybody on the same footing. And then the way you make that work, and you make people work and motivate them to work, give them food, housing, shelter, and all that other shit for free, and then make the luxuries expensive so they have to work their ass off to get them. That'll make everything work, but everyone won't suffer. Everyone will have enough.
Yeah, and I know on the individual level, every person is compassionate. Every person has a conscience. Now you have these sociopaths that don't, and unfortunately, they've made it to the very top of our government system. They've made it to the very top of our corporate system. And when these guys, when a couple 100,000 people die in the Philippines, it's not that big of a deal. They don't mind. They're just going to throw a couple $1,000,000 at it. I read this article from the CEO of Monsanto the other day. From Hugh Grant, and basically I read this article, and he doesn't mention his GMO stuff because he knows that GMOs aren't feeding the world, and he knows if he would have said that in his article, he would have been called a liar because there's no scientific proof to back that up. And like I said at the beginning of the show, that's just a marketing tactic that unfortunately a lot of people bought into, and all my friends that are pro-GMO have basically bought into this, despite saying that we're anti-science. These people have no grasp on the science that supposedly backs this stuff up, because when you read these pro-GMO articles, there's no sources, there's no citations. They just say that people that are against GMOs are just environmental zealots, and that they just don't want people to have food around the world in Africa, and they want little kids to starve.
Right, but
unfortunately,
we'll
they're completely. We'll drone in some vaccinations, and that'll help.
Their vaccination drone is on the way. It's a mosquito drone, by the way. Has a little needle in it.
So, this whole thing is completely not based in science. It's based on marketing tactics, and everyone bought it hook, line, and sinker. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And it's just funny when I see these comments online. I'm just, wow, these are some of the most ignorant people in the world, and I can tell they just watch TV all day.
And some of them are, and listen, I have a friend with a degree in biotechnology who believes in the sanctity of GMOs, and that they work exactly as they should. But I said, listen, ethically, do you want to eat an orange spliced with a frog? She's like, why? What does it matter? Then they're resistant to whatever. You're not going to digest it, and it's not going to affect your DNA. That's not how our things work. Lo and behold, that is how our things work, because the mitochondria absorbs the freaking DNA you eat. You are what you eat.
It's true.
And that's just common knowledge to anyone. If they didn't watch Fox News or go to, I don't know, a state school, and they're just a program robot.
Yeah, and, it really comes down to this. Not about GMOs. It's not about pesticides. It's not about these advancements. And advancement in technology are normally good. But it's really about rethinking the entire economic system, which means that we need to rethink the whole paradigm, because the whole world is based on this global capitalistic system, including China, which is supposedly communist. No, they're not communist. They're just capital fascists. And we need to rethink the entire system to provide access and to increase access and to empower people. And it goes back to the damn Bible, like what Jesus said. If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for his life, right? And it's that same exact idea. We need to provide the knowledge and the access to people. We don't need to just drop GMO corn by helicopter into these countries in Africa. and lo and behold, all of this food, this aid, this foreign aid that we drop into these countries, guess who gets them? Who gets the aid? The dictators get the aid.
No, the freaking Boko Haram gets the aid.
The warlords get the aid. And then guess what? That just gives them more leverage.
Of course. I mean, this is ridiculous at this point in time, because we know we have water evaporation with solar panels that are the size of a freaking vending machine that make 2 gallons of water a day anywhere as long as there's sun hitting it. So we know we can put water anywhere, and we also know we can put power anywhere, which means we can grow food anywhere, which means now there's no world hunger at all, period. Spread the tech. Once the tech spread, all the problems are gone. But then all their control is gone.
Exactly.
So we need to force it to the point where if they say, no, we're not going to do that, they look like assholes and we'll vote them out. We'll vote them out. The sheeple will vote them out. We need to basically use counter propaganda.
Exactly. And it's using their own tactics back against them. And these guys are stuck in the old school. They're stuck in this patenting idea, protectionist economics, where they want to hold, they just want to buy patents and then shut them down. You know, this is the tactics of Apple. This is the tactic of Samsung. This is the tactic of Monsanto. This is the tactic of all these big companies. Now, unfortunately for them, the new economy is coming around. And like my buddy that lives down the street, that his technology is eventually going to replace bureaucracy as we know it today.
Right.
All of his stuff is open source. It's all open source. It's, hey, here's the technology. It can make the world better. Everybody has access to it, no matter where you're at, whether you're right here in San Diego or whether you're in the middle of Africa and you're broke as hell. If you can get access to the internet, you can print out these blueprints to make this distilling system or to make this water condensing system, and you can do it right there. And this is the new economy. It's the open source economy. It's the free economy. It's, hey, here's my idea. Hopefully it helps the world. Hopefully I can make a little bit of money while I'm doing it. But it's not this protectionist system where we're patenting everything, shutting people down, suing people, taking them to court, throwing them in jail for violating your patents. No, that's the old idea, and all these idiots at the top, these corporate oligarchy that's at the top, this hegemony, is caught in this old system, and they're about to get out-evolved. They're about to get mutated again, and that's us. We are the we are mutations of the system. We are the apex of evolution.
And you know what the funny thing is? The people at the top that are the new school, the new generation of these guys, they know that, and they're in charge now. And why do you think these bankers are being suicided? These are the dudes stopping the new paradigm from happening the right way. I'm telling you, there's a fight between them at the top. It's up to us to change the bottom rung's minds so that the top rung goes, listen, humanity is ready to evolve. We don't no longer need wars and all this control. People are ready to take the next leap. We can trust them as a whole. This influx of information the internet's provided to everyone worldwide has worked. We've had a consciousness shift, and now people have evolved past that. And these warlords are the last guys clinging on to it. You know what I mean? It's shifted already. I mean, look at your children. Your children are a perfect example of why it's already a game over. It's just now they're being sore losers and trying to take their ball when they go home. That's it.
Yeah, they're trying to take their resources with them as they lose. And the thing is that...
Where are they going to go? Off-world? They're not going to be allowed off-world. So they're going to dig into these dumbs.
Yeah,
live underground.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys think they're better than all us, but when it comes to the extraterrestrial, the aliens that are looking down on us, they see these guys as parasites. They look at them, and these are the reason. They look at these people that are running things and say, these are the reason why humanity has not...
we have to shut them off.
This is the reason why humanity has not gone through the ultimate enlightenment, is because these idiots are holding us down this whole time, these greedy bastards that are putting in all these wars. And you think they're going to let us off this... You think they would let us out of this solar system when we still are run by people that think this way? No. The
host must shed its parasites.
Exactly.
We are the hosts. We the people are the hosts. And we have to shed these parasites like a freaking dog shakes some fleas off of them.
Exactly. It's like a tick. It's like a tick on our head, and once we can remove this tick, we're going to be a lot happier and a lot healthier. And we're not going to have all these sicknesses and all this Lyme disease.
Gaia will repair. We're going to have this eaten. You have no idea. We could have 30 billion people on this earth if everything was done the right way. This thing can grow food like no other. You have no idea how much is being suppressed right now.
Just imagine, like, how beautiful it will be when everything's working in kinetic motion as intended. Like, the Earth is a living biological creature, and we're disconnected. Like, I hope that in my lifetime I get to see in unity the entire thing functioning as one thing.
The Earth itself creates enough energy to support hundreds of billions of people. Just the Earth. We're not even talking about the sun. Now we get so much free energy.
Through the stereo, yo, here we go.
No reason
Through the stereo.
Sun, right? Thank you guys for tuning in. See you in Friday. We're gonna have a really